All right, welcome. Christy Ruffner here, and today we're going to get our update from my paying ads. This is week 3 of my December cash balance test. And today we're going to have something very special, so make sure that you watch all the way to the end of this video because I'm going to share with you my strategy on how I grow my business and how I decide how to spend my money on my ad packs, my ad shares, especially once you get up into the higher levels where the shares are more expensive. Then it really takes some planning and some thought to decide how you're going to spend your money. And in order to keep your plans maximized and still grow at the higher levels, you really need to take a look at a strategy to make that happen. So I'm going to share that with you at the end of the video, so please make sure and watch all the way to the end of the video. So today we are going to take a look at my third week in December. This is part four of my December cash balance video series. It's going to take us through the week of 12/14 through 12/20. That's Monday through Sunday of the third week of December. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at is going to be 12/14. Now remember that I'm doing this in the middle of the night. I wake up at midnight as close as I can to that time, and I take care of these screenshots. And this particular night I proceeded with making my purchases before I got my screenshot of my cash balance. And so what I did was I took a screenshot of the purchases that I make the very beginning of the next morning, which uses my cash balance of the day before. So these are my purchases, and I made sure to include the December 14th there so that you could see that these three first purchases were the beginning of my next day, 12/15, and thusly, this money is money that has accumulated for the 14th. Now, there's no timestamp on this. The only thing that you can really use as judgment is the date of the actual purchases and the fact that it does follow up on December 14th, which indicates that it's the first purchases of the day. And so beyond that, you'll just have to trust me that this is my accumulation for the day, which adds up to about 174. Um, I've been doing these for 3 weeks now, and so this is falling right into place with all of the rest of my accumulations, and so there shouldn't be too big of a stretch there to believe me that this is indeed what I accumulated, at least close to the amount of what I accumulated for the date of 12/14. And then here is the timestamp for the zero balance, having spent all of my money that I accumulated for the 14th. Okay, so now we're going to go to my next day, 12/15. You'll see up here at the top of the screen, December 15th, 23:55. So that's almost midnight, and almost ready to tick over to December 16th. You'll see that I accumulated $190.91, and then I have my zero balance here, 11 seconds into December 16th. My next um, my next slide here is for December 16th. You'll see that I'm about 5 minutes, well, almost 6 minutes into December 17th with a cash balance of $210 and a few cents over. And then at 17 minutes after the midnight of the 17th, you see my zeroed out. I actually made my purchase without, I actually ticked the box to use my repurchase. which means that I was left with some money in my cash balance. This is a habit that I've formed to make sure that I am using my repurchase balance before I dip into my cash balance. And I do that so that I'm left with that accumulation over the day in order to do these screenshots for you. But this time I actually forgot, and so I was left with a whole 73 cents. I apologize about that. It's not really quite a zero balance, but I think it's close enough that you see what I'm trying to accomplish here. My next slide is for 12/17, and you'll notice that I'm almost an hour into December 18th. My bad. Like I said, I am waking up in the middle of the night, trying to keep it as close to midnight as possible. Not exactly sure how this happened, other than I know that sometimes I shut my eyes for a moment and I fall asleep. So that must have been what happened here. I logged into my account, waiting for the login ad to run down, and in that short span of time, I fell back to sleep and woke up almost an hour later. So this is a little bit longer than a 24-hour accumulation. It's actually closer to 25, and then we have our 1 hour later at zeroed out balance starting with my new day. My next slide is for 12/18, and you can see that I am 1 minute into December 19th. I have a $191.73 accumulated in the 24 hours. It actually probably should have been a little bit more than this because I started an hour late, but it all comes out in the wash. It's close enough to show you that I am making almost $200 a day in accumulated cash, and then there is my zeroed out balance for the next day. All right, my next slide is for 12/19. You can see that I'm 7 minutes into the day of December 20th. I have accumulated $147.69, and then about 6 minutes later, 7 minutes later, we've got our zeroed out balance. My last day of the week is the 20th. You'll see here that I'm about 4 minutes into December 21st. I have just over $200 in accumulated cash, and then about 10 minutes later I've got my zeroed out cash balance. Now you may wonder why there is so much time between my screenshots, and that's because I plan my purchases. Now I told you that I was going to share that strategy with you, but before I do that, I want to share one last slide that shows you how far I've come over the last 3 weeks. My cash balance started out as a 24-hour accumulation. This is from November 30th. You see that I'm 1 minute and a half into December 1st. So this is my cash balance accumulation for November 30th, $129.97, so almost $130. And then my last screenshot for this week was $202.08. So the cash balance is gradually growing. It's reflected of my referrals who are also growing their business, and then my ad shares that are growing and keeping my lower shares maxed out, so that I'm maxing out the program to the greatest of my ability while I'm still growing at my top levels. Now this is a key designation because I continue to talk about maximizing your cash, spending it wisely, and not sacrificing a higher planned ad share in order to keep your lower plans maxed out. And I'm going to show you a couple of slides here that hopefully will demonstrate clearly what I'm talking about. This next slide is data that I accumulated today just before I put together this video. So my time stamp here is 12:22 at 2:25 p.m. My accumulated cash balance so far today is $132, and my repurchase balance, I had to keep adjusting as I was putting this data together because as my referrals make their purchases, it adds money to my balance. And so I ended up with $109 to spend on my repurchase. Now remember, I'm accumulating my cash balance for 24 hours, so I don't want to touch this amount right here. I just want to spend this $109. So this is the type of data that I take every single time that I purchase, in particular when I have a lot of money, over $100 to spend on ad shares. I want to make sure that I'm maximizing every dollar to the best of my ability. And so it takes some planning. So you want to write down the data. And I have a little notebook that I use, something like this. I have one in my purse that I carry. I always try to have something available that I can write this data down on so that I can keep track of what I'm doing. Just for this purchase. This isn't necessarily for anything in the future or recording anything in the past. This is just so that I can take this information down right now when I'm making my purchase so that I can keep track of what's going on in my back office. Because as you've seen over this series of videos, the information can change in the blink of an eye. From the time that you click from one part of the site to another, this information changes. And so you write it down so that you have a record of it while you're making your purchases, so that you don't erroneously think that somehow your ad shares haven't been added or that something is wrong in the program, when if you just pay attention to the actual data that's there as you click back and forth, that you know that the information is accurate. So you start by listing what plan you're working on, how many active shares you're showing in there, and then I take the amount of money that each share costs and I multiply it by the number of shares that I need to max out to 200, and I work up that math to see how much it would cost me to max out that level. And then I always take a record of what the total shares says, because this will never go down. This will only go up. The only way that this number here, the total shares, changes is to go up as you add shares. This one can go up and down from the time that you click from page to page. So this is not an accurate number to go by. You always want to go by the total shares. So my plan 2 is at 198. Those shares are $3. I need 2 of them to max it out to 200, and so that's going to cost me $6. I'm at 199 on plan 3. Those shares are $5 a piece, so that's one share at $5 makes it $5. I'm at 194 in plan 5. Plan 5 shares are $10 a piece. I need 6 of those to max out to 200. That's $60. On plan 6, I have 199. Those are $15 a piece, so I need one more to max it out at 200. That is going to cost me $15. Okay, so if I add all of this money up right here to max out my plans back to 200, Plan 9 and Plan 10 I haven't maxed out to 200 yet, so I don't worry about those, but I do keep track of them in case I decide to purchase one of these as opposed to maxing out all of these. So the total to max out all of plan 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 is $88. Well, I have $109 to spend. I'm going to close that. I'm not sure why that popped up, but I have $109 total to spend. But I want to maximize. If I were to take and just maximize all of these out and take $109 and subtract 88, that leaves me with $21. Well, I can't use that $21 in anything else that I would have left over. I don't want to leave $21 here in this repurchase balance. So that's not the way I'm going to do it. I'm not going to max out all of these lower plans and sacrifice that $21, leave it sitting until I can come back and spend it. I want to maximize all of this $109 right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, if you take $40 here for plan 9, now this kills two birds with one stone. Not only is it going to help me to utilize all of that $109, but it's also going to grow my plan 9 by 1. That's $40. It takes a lot of time to build up $40 at this level. And so since I have that much money to spend, I'm going to go ahead and use $40 to buy another plan at another share at plan 9. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to maximize out my plan 5 by spending $60. And then I'm going to maximize out plan 2 by spending $6 and maximize plan 1 by spending $2, and that allows me to spend $108 of this $109, which leaves me with only $1. That's how I want to spend my money. I want to utilize as much of that money that I've got available to spend while achieving all of my goals here at some level. So I'm growing my higher plan by 1 share. I'm maxing out 3 of 5 of my plans, and that leaves me a 15 and a 5 that I'll have to come back in later and try to maximize out on. So every time that you come in and you have a large amount of money that you have that you can spend, you want to plan out that purchase to whatever you want to accomplish. This is how I do it. This is not necessarily how everybody's going to do it. It's not necessarily how you're going to want to do it. But this is what I mean by not sacrificing purchasing at a higher level when you have the money to do it because you want to maximize out some lower level. Because in the end game, when you're, as long as you're this close to being maximized out, 1 or 2 plans is not going to make a big difference. 1 or 2 shares, I mean, isn't going to make a big difference in the overall plan. Overall, you want to continue to grow at the higher levels, because throughout the day, when you come back in to check what you have to spend, you'll always have $1, $2, $3, $5 to spend on ad shares. Those are easy to keep maximized. And so, you just want to consider all these things while you're trying to grow your business. Okay, so just wanted to show you this last slide here that I have. It shows you the where I ended up after my purchases. I grew my plan 9 by 1 share. I maximized out my plan 5, my plan 2, and my plan 1. Here are the purchases that I made. I purchased a 40, the six $10, and oops, the $6 $10, the 2 $3, and the 2 $1. And I ended up spending all of my money except $1.12. So every purchase is unique. It takes planning to grow your business in a consistent manner. No purchase is a given. No purchases come in and just make the purchase unless you've only got a very small amount of money. They should all be planned out to maximize your money and still maintain your goal to grow your plans and keep your lower plans maxed out. It's a balance. I keep saying that over and over again. It's a balance between growing at the top levels and keeping the lower levels maxed out. So plan your work and work your plan, and good luck to you. That's it for today. We're going to take one last look here, talking about the guaranteed signups. If that's something that you're interested in, get back to me, let me know. I will help you get started with that. Just remember that action is what changes things, and the time for action is right now, because 2016 is just around the corner. We've only got a couple more weeks left of 2015, and then we're going to start a whole brand new year. If you make some decisions now, you can hit the ground running and you can really change your life in 2016. That's it for right now. You make it a great day. A very, very Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year. I'll see you next week for my final week of December, and then we're going to start planning on 2016 and my withdrawal strategy. Okay? I'll see you next week. You make it a great day.